What's going on, my homies? We are back in Alabama, and actually just in time, because frankly these fish, it's been beautiful. I got my beautiful assistant with me. I always thought I could be a magician, but I'd be a failure as a magician. But I'd have an excellently hot assistant, but I would suck being a magician. So back to the point, we are back in Alabama. We're on Smith Lake right now. Smith Lake is a beautiful, super clear water highland impoundment, and what I'm going to show you today is kind of a strategy for catching bedfish, but not bedfish that you see, bedfish that are spawning kind of in these deeper, kind of super clear but shallower rocks, chunk rocks, largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, but you can't see them. So you kind of have to believe that they're there, and there's a couple baits and a couple ways I present the bait. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it and exactly what those baits are. One is probably the most obvious thing, and that's going to be a little Ned. That's a Nichols Clint Davis. It's a weedless Ned with a little bit smaller hook on here. I like it for these spawning fish, especially if you're dealing with a mix of smallmouth, spots, and largemouth. That little hook tends to pin them up really nice, and especially with their smaller mouths, and the water's not super warm, so you like that smaller hook to actually get penetration and sort of pop them when you can, but you do need to be delicate. Got it on a little 610 spinning rod, KS2 Elite, 8-pound or 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. The other thing that I'm going to rig up, and you guys saw it a lot last year, this is that Cast Prodigy, but the biggest difference is there's a little bit of wind out here, so it's blowing a bit. Normally I'd throw that 3-inch Cast Prodigy, a little bit smaller bait on what I like to call the sneak rig, but since we got a little wind chop, and I think I want to try to target some bigger fish, this is the 4.1, a little bit bigger. Still that, I think it's like blue something, it's blue moon, so it's, you know, kind of shimmery. There's some blueback herring in here as well as shad, and what I'm going to do with this thing is it has a little cavity right in there, and I'm going to pop out what is a rattle. Kind of pull that out, not dental recommended. And I'm gonna go into my Bass Mafia box. This is my hover strolling box. I keep a bunch of nail weights in here. I'm gonna get out a nail weight. I'm actually going to insert it into the belly of this guy. And then what you're gonna do is, I'm dealing with a little bit of rock, chunk rock, and then there's also some scattered wood on the bank. So I wanna be able to fish clean. Basically what we're gonna do with this rig is we're going to cast it around some of these rocks, around some of these fallen trees, and very slowly reel it, because it's a 3/32. It's not super heavy, but it is kind of light, so the bait's gonna stay up kind of. And all you're gonna do is take a little circle hook with a weedless kind of little, I don't know, guard on there, just like that, and I'm going to nose hook this thing. But when you're using the slightly bigger one, you really want to just feel that they're there. You'll get a lot of like tail bites from the males and things like that, but you really want to feel for them. That's why I have it on a 7-foot lunker stick, medium light, and really I'll let that rod load up. But let's see if we can pull on a few, and I'll show you exactly how I'm presenting these baits. So a really big key with the sneak rig right here, even when you're throwing the 4.1, it's almost more integral when you're using the 3-inch, but you got to kind of lob your cast, otherwise you tend to throw it off the hook. The other thing is you can over reel it very easily. I'm using a super just slow roll retrieve. You don't want to do anything with your rod tip, and when you feel weight, you just keep reeling. It's almost like a crankbait, but you really don't want to over reel it, because what happens is that swim bait will wobble and it'll start rolling. You just want to put a little pressure on it to make that tail kick, and it stays up in the water column, but it's gin clear, so those fish come up to get it. Good one. Decent one. He freaking sucked that thing up, dude. the old sneak rig. He did pretty good, boy. So the old cast bait's a little bit bigger one. Oh, 2.5 pound spot. Not too bad. He freaking smoked it, dude. I wonder if that's the female. I don't know. Oh yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. Look at that bug. That's actually a better spot. Oh, there goes my swim bait. Get in here. You were worth it. Dude, that's a nice spot. That's a 2.5, 3 pound spot right there. He's peeing too. Actually, that's a male spot. It's a pretty good one though. See how he's peeing though? That's what indicates to me these fish are doing their thing on this bank. Hello, George Bob. Hit that camera, girl. There's two really big misconceptions that I think most anglers have when they're fishing this sort of like blind fishing for beds kind of deal. When you're going down the bank, catching them off beds, they're peeing, you're catching a male, you're catching a female. And on these clear like bodies of water, I think these fish spawn a lot deeper than you would think. It's not just 3, 4, 2, 5 feet. It's 6, 7, 8, 12, even 14 feet. I've seen them deep. On Lanier once, I caught a fish in like 14 feet of water. It was actually off of forward facing, catching them off a bed. So when you have that clear water, they bed a lot deeper. The other thing is, a lot of times in the clearer water, you don't need to actually fish on their bed. You don't need to actually put that bait on the bed and shake it like you would when you're sight fishing. You can, and sometimes they respond to that, but a lot of times swimming that bait over the top of them is actually just as effective, or can be more effective depending on the day, depending on their mood. So don't be afraid to swim a bait 3, 4, 5 foot over the bottom over those fish, and they'll actually come up. If they're aggressive enough and locked on, they'll actually come up and totally smoke it. I can't emphasize enough with this Ned how slow I'm fishing. Like, I'm trying to get it hung on every rock, on every little like tree stump that's down there. And when I actually do get it hung on that stuff, I'll just shake it. Full disclosure, you break off a lot. Like, you're gonna hang your Ned, but you gotta throw it in places that you don't want to, because those fish are looking for kind of like a vertical stick up or something to bed next to. And like, it's a rock, it's a tree, it's a stump. And if you catch one and you catch that Ned on it, shaking it instead of trying to drag it back is really what draws your bigger bites. So I'll sit there and shake that slack line and kind of just let that Ned just kind of fall through stuff, and it ends up getting wedged every once in a while. But you'll find that when you're getting your bites, it's when you're just shaking that slack line and you stop, or if you come over a rock and just kind of pop it over, and then it'll just and they'll freaking slam it. Like right now I'm stuck, but oh, popped it out. And that's another thing too. If you get hung and you pop it out like that one, then that's when they'll bite too, because they do a little reaction deal when you pop it out and try to scoot it away. Decent one on the old Nedster. Love how they look in the clear water, dude. Just kind of taking it off the rocks. That's nice, like 2.5, dude. They're not biting very hard at all, but you get them right in that nose, and that hook is nice and small. 2.5, freaking chunker, dude. Oh, that was a big one. Okay, so now I know there's fish here. That was like a 3-pounder, dude. You never ate it. This is what is it called? A Gangcraft. I think it's like a 7-inch swim bait. Super realistic, just a standard glide, not really a chop glide or anything like that. And the ironic part is, I'm not actually trying to catch fish with this. So I'm kind of throwing it around the bank and just doing a standard glide, maybe putting a little bit of kind of fast reel in it from time to time to make it dart back and forth. And what I'm really looking for, every once in a while I get lucky and catch one doing this, but what I've found with these fish that are bedding, that you can't see them, they can't handle when this glide goes over them. And they will follow it, they will look at it, and what actually ends up happening is you kind of see if you're on an active bank, or you see if these fish are kind of interested, and you can also get an idea of what size fish are around. Like I said, normally I don't catch much on it. Every once in a while I'll catch a 3 or 4 pounder, get lucky, and it's awesome and they smoke it. But for the most part, I'm just trying to see if I can lift fish and sort of get them interested and identify, hey, is this stretch good? It allows me to kind of cover some water, and it's kind of fun when you get a bite too. So I'm gonna show you guys a little sneaky trick with the Ned. I've gotten a lot of bites, but I haven't closed the deal on them. They're kind of nipping at it. So obviously they see a million stick baits. So this is a power Ned. I got the Demiki Stinger. There's a million different kinds. You can run the Z-Man stuff that floats and that. But one thing they don't see a lot of, and there's been a lot more like imported JDM baits. This is a Duo Realis Raid version, and then there's another one from Raid, like a little shrimp. Basically, these are like little small like creature style baits They're super minute, super compact. You know, they fit on your Ned just perfect. They got a few like little different dangle appendages, but they're really simple, really straightforward, and they fit on that Ned and just give you a little different look. And sometimes I think, especially with these spawning fish, having something that's got a couple little dangle appendages, not so much like swimming appendages, but little like dangle style appendages, can really trigger them, especially when, you know, basically we're shaking the bait in place. We're not really trying to swim it. We're not really doing anything fancy with it. So you can see it's almost like a micro creature bait, super small, super light. They can be a little annoying to cast because they catch the wind, but it's just a different look. Same presentation with that stand-up Ned. So I'm gonna give that a try, see if I can get some extra bites and maybe even catch a bigger one. There's one on the creature bait. Oh, that's a freaking good one, dude. Stay on there. That's on that little Duo Realis, the freaking raid bait. Get in here. That is, dude, I didn't even feel a bite, and you just got it by the skin right in the mouth there. But that right there is a spawning fish, dude. You see the red eyes like that? That's a beaut, dude.
Can't do that.
Be quiet, Swimsuit Girl. We're wrapping up this video. She's getting on and she drank a couple adult beverages and she's getting all frisky, dude. We're gonna wrap this thing up though. Key principles for this blind bed fishing deal: try out a glide. You're not going to catch a lot, but a glide is an awesome way to see if you're on the right stretch. It's fun too, because every once in a while, like that giant fish that just jumped back there, every once in a while they'll go and eat this thing, and it's an awesome bite, dude. It's a freaking sick bite. But don't get discouraged if you see one following behind it. It just indicates to you that you're on the right stretch, and they're going to tail it and then just kind of turn away. But then that's when you get out your kind of more subtle things. And the biggest thing to remember, there's two things. One, they're going to bed deeper than you think. 6, 7, 8, 9 feet of water. They're going to be shallow, but there's ones that are deeper, so stay a little ways off the bank. And then the other thing too is you got to kind of get a feel of whether they want that bait down on the bed, kind of inching and shaking, kind of like what we did with the Ned. You know, we went between a power Ned and then this little kind of, it's a Duo Realis. It's one of the Raid JDM little creature baits. Or if they want it above their head. And even though they're on a bed, oftentimes in these clear water situations, they're looking up and they actually want to eat it swimming. It's kind of one or the other usually, and you got to play around with it. That cast baits, that's the 4.1. When the wind lays down, I'll use that 3.1. This has a 330 seconds. I'll go down to the 16 ounce and put it in a belly, right in that belly kind of pocket where the rattle goes. And the biggest trick with that is just fishing it slow. It's super easy to overfish it and reel it in too fast. You really want to hover it because you're doing kind of the same thing that you would with the Ned. Instead of shaking the bait like you do with the Ned when you think you're on a bed or near it, you're actually just kind of stalling and hovering this swim bait. It's slowly swimming, but it's hanging around a little too long and pissing the fish off. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed hanging out with Swimsuit Girl and Bogster. You will see us back out here doing a bunch of this, and we are going to expand on this micro creature bait kind of thing. It's a very cool presentation, and there's some little tricks that I want to show you guys. But hit that like and subscribe button for me. We'll see you back out on the water talking fishing.